I'm not kidding. This makes very interesting reading at the end of day one of Pro Tour Philadelphia. Rich and BDM with you to take you through the standings. 2 Europeans, no less, on top of the standings at 8-0. Who have we got? Max Scherblom, we'll go for, something like that, from Finland. And someone who you can say.
Sebastian Thaler, one of my favorite Magic players.
Yep.
I was just wondering, I was like, hey, where's Sebastian Thaler gone? I haven't seen him in a little while. And by a little while, I mean at the top of the standings.
Yeah.
Here he is, 7-0 today. You did a draft piece with him.
Yeah, a really, really nice piece. If you want to learn how to get out of your early picks and into a winning combination, it's a must class.
And by early picks, you mean your first pack and a half?
Yeah, he maneuvered his way into where he needed to be deep in pack 2. It was a great thing to see. Now, so those two are 8-0, 7-1 then. A bunch of people and a lot of players I don't know a lot about, I've got to be honest. Josh Hakakian, USA.
Not familiar with him. I'm more familiar with names like Josh Utter-Layton.
I've heard of him. Last year's US national champion.
Akira Nakajima.
Yep.
Love Janse.
Yeah, now he had a draw, so he's 6-1-1. Samuel Estrati, the Italian pro, is at 7-1.
Is he the national champion?
I think he might be. That sounds about right to me. Vit Vavrit 6-2. Now LSV.
I've heard of him.
Yes, 6-2, but that's very disappointing for him coming off 5-0. He's one of the victims of Pod 1.
We were joking around on Twitter about how LSV is banned in fantasy draft, which is what I wrote my column about this week.
That's right, yep.
And LSV posted on Twitter, he's like, bannings may have been premature considering limited is involved in the format.
Okay, yes, that's the little handicap, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a guy who knows his way around a 40-card deck.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure he will right the ship tomorrow.
Yeah, but 6-2 are obviously perfectly presentable. Some other big names to give you. Jeremy Neiman of Australia there. Bram Snetlangers did very nicely. He was 4-0 with Affinity in Modern before moving on.
Vincent Lemois.
The Belgian national champion.
And the Paris top 8 competitor.
Paul Rietzel, 6-2. Patrick Cox, who beat John Finkel in feature match action. That was an exciting game. Yeah. He's in a good position. Billy Postlethwaite, Suchin Kuo of Taiwan, once again heading towards the top of the standings.
Sure. Also in the column, we talked about people who've had really good median finishes in split format era, and one of the names that comes up on that list is Lukas Jaklovsky.
Yeah.
Not a name a lot of people are familiar with, but this is a guy who money's Pro Tours.
Yeah, and part of the Czech team that ultimately finished 4th in the World Championship in Rome, 2009. Really, really solid. Talking of solid Czech players, we were looking at the little flags that they put in the feature match area, and I'm pretty short-sighted in case you didn't know. And I'm looking at this guy, František Kotář, and I'm thinking, is he Hungarian? And then I peer in and... Oh, stupid of me. Someone good at Magic I haven't heard of. Obviously, he's from the Czech Republic like everyone else.
It was very funny. While you were doing that, I was sitting there talking to Frank Carson. I was like, hey, Frank, do you remember when the Netherlands was the Czech Republic?
That's awesome. It's very true. Now, it turns out that with a field this size, 417 players, sheet after sheet after sheet make it in to day 2. We go all the way down to Richard Bland of England, who snuck in from 2 and 3. He aced his draft pod. Good boy.
Interesting. I was going to say we don't normally go down to the last cut of day 2, but if that's where you need to go to get a Brit in, I understand.
Hush. You're not funny.
I mean, a little funny.
Okay, you are a little funny. Now, 5 rounds of Modern. What was your take on the format? We've seen it now. What's it like?
It was interesting in that depending on which player you talk to, you got a very different perspective. I talked to Fabian Thiele of Germany, who was in top 8 of our last Pro Tour, and he was like, it's a little frustrating. I played 5 rounds of mirror matches or 4 rounds of mirror matches where he was playing Cloud Post and played against Cloud Post, played against Cloud Post, and felt it was a little coin flippy. Then I talked to someone else who's like, you know what? I played 5 rounds of Magic against 5 different decks. It was super interactive. There were tons of decisions. This is Frank Karsten, actually, I was talking to. He was like, look, he's like, some people were able to win on turn 3, but, sometimes on turn 3, I was able to present a really difficult question for them.
Yeah. To me, the format comes from just this one anecdote. Antonino De Rosa of the United States. he came to me, he said, you know, I started out in round 1, I went land, Sakura Tribe Elder. At that point, I have Kitchen Finks, I have another green guy, a bunch of rubbish, that's my hand. On my left, in round 1, someone's just gone, fetch up a Reaper King, Blazing Show you to death, turn 2, kill you, thank you very much. On my right, someone's just gone, Goryo's Vengeance, Emrakul, 15 damage on turn 3. And I'm sitting there thinking, maybe I am not in the best position for this format. And yet, Antonino De Rosa, with his turn 2 Sakura Tribe Elder, 5-0 in Constructed. And there's your modern right there. Blazing Shoal, Goryo's Vengeance, Sakura Tribe Elder, great.
There's a zoo deck that has done very, very well. It's sort of been called Counter Cat. And, you know, it's Wild Nicodle. And, you know, the thing about Zoo is kind of like an old black and white TV with 2 rabbit ears on top of it and like a big wad of aluminum foil over here and maybe like a TV dinner tray wrapped around the other one. And you're trying to get the picture and you're trying to get the picture. Okay. And you know what? If you just keep adjusting it enough, eventually that picture's going to come in crystal clear. And that's kind of what Brian Kibler did. You know, they don't get a lot of good TV reception in the ski lodge outside of Pittsburgh. So he just kept attacking with Wild Nicodles, I swear there's a point to this. And eventually he was able to figure out a mix of cards and sideboard cards that were perfect for the format. Flash freezing against Primeval Titan, which is also good against Seething Song, right? Like there's, you know, as more and more information about the format becomes clear, then a deck like Zoo or a deck like John or a deck like Fair Fight Fairies, which is a deck we did a deck tech on, are able to control the tempo of the game and really like run their opponents down a road they want them to go down so they can do the things that it does and you know, deal 20 damage just before they're going to die.
Well, the road we want to drive you down is right back here tomorrow for 3 more rounds of M12 Draft, 5 more rounds of modern, yet more broken analogies from the Pro Tour historian, Mr. Brian David-Marshall. But until we meet again to do it all again on day 2 from the modern world of the Pro Tour, I'm your host, Rich Hagan, saying bye.